Which one's mine?
That's yours. That's mine. I took that because I seen something in it that reminded me of something that was planted a couple of days ago of a place that I might be going to.
What, Iceland?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Come close to the mic. Sir, how are you?
I'm okay. Long time no see, brother.
Yeah, mate. How are you? Cheers, by the way.
Yeah. Sláinte.
Nettle tea.
Nettle tea. Keeping it real.
Yeah, so, long time no see, man.
Mm-hmm.
As I was saying, so how we know each other is an interesting tale, because sometimes you meet people in life and they plant a seed in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember about 3 years ago, I was at Jiu Jitsu in George Santos, great gym here in Dublin. And I met you on the mat and got talking to you. I remember I said, what do you do for a living in the changing room?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, oh, I teach Pilates. I think that's like part of what you said, part of it.
Yeah, part of it,
because
correct.
you have many skills. And I thought, that's your job. That is a job. I didn't even realise that was... you can live in your own echo chamber sometimes. And when you're doing like an office job, let's say, you think that's the only way to make money. And when you said that to me, it planted a seed in my head. And I thought, this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I've been thinking about doing something where I get to meet people. I get to do something physical and something that's actually going to help, it's good for people, as opposed to gym stuff, which doesn't really interest me, the whole aesthetic. So when I met you, that was a huge seed planter. So thank you for that,
welcome.
by the way.
Yeah. Well, just for me, a friend of mine years ago always talked about liberation.
Yeah.
And I never got the concept of what that meant. But I have it today. I know what that means in all areas. It's not being in a box, because we're brought up a certain way, we act a certain way, we dress a certain way, we conduct ourselves in a certain way by the standards and beliefs of other people. We walk in a criteria of a box position, and when I found this way of life of being liberated from a aspect to life, so it was transformed. It took time. Like a seed was planted with me. There was a guy that worked in the elbow realms, Brian. He lives in America now. He was a Pilates teacher, and I loved his energy, how he carried himself, how confident he was. He was only 5'4", but he could hold a room, and he was strong, and I wanted that, and a couple of years after, I went to sign on for a yoga class up in the sanctuary up off Brunswick Street, and I was only given a deposit, and the next enrollment they rang me and says that they had to give it to the locals first, the people that were always there, and I had to come and get the deposit back, and I was a little bit thrown off by that, a little bit paid, shall we say? Yeah, should we say? But I ended up going down, and I was walking down the road coming from the Grange Gorman, and his picture of him come into my head at that moment. That light bulb. That guy Brian walks around here somewhere, and I walked into the elbow rooms, and I can't talk highly of that place, because it changed a lot of people's lives with mental health issues, with community, and it helped me as well, because I used to go in there and I used to practice, didn't know what I was doing, I was paying for classes, but I felt part of, and I've always been looking for a tribe. All my life,
But when you were, when you were growing up, because you're originally from Dublin, right?
Yeah, inner city.
Okay,
yeah,
inner
the
city.
posh part.
Whereabouts in the city?
Around the fruit markets area. That's where all my family are from.
Yeah.
So from a young age, I would have been a fishmonger. I would have been cleaning turkeys. I would have been loading containers. I'd have been a paper seller. I would have worked in the forecourts. Every second week, a 40-foot would pull up with all briquettes, and I'd be loading them off the truck onto the shoe. And I learned very quickly that the ones that were broken, they disregarded, and I was able to bring them home to the house to my mum. So we had heat.
Right.
So I'd have a wheelbarrow
Yeah.
of briquettes bringing them home. So it was kind of like the Robin Hood of the family.
Yeah.
I was the eldest boy, so I always thought I had to provide, or I had to be a caretaker. And when I moved into teaching aspect, when I found this way of life, this found me. it was just a natural progression into that, because I was already, most teachers are caretakers, were counsellors, were brother, sister, whatever you are, like we're a community-based thing that we put out energy, we listen to other people suffering, we help and heal. So, you know, I've always had that trait in me, you know, growing up. I was always looking out for the underdog. You know, I'd go for the messages for the elderly people, I'd open the door, I'd let them on the bus, I'd let them sit down in front of me. And I still do it. I've always got them traits. But as I was growing up, my environment changed. You know, playing football, boxing, because I used to box in the boxing club with my brother and we were very good. But things changed, the community changed, like, you know, there was different aspects of different things coming in. You know, addiction was coming in, alcoholism, all that kind of stuff. Like on the weekends, you see everyone sitting around drinking cans and playing cards. So there was a lot of the social aspect was completely different, you know. And then the party scene started to happen, you know, where people were going to nightclubs, you were going raving, ecstasy was coming into the picture, and it progressed for me. So it was like I was always in the tribe. But I was never an anchor in a tribe. I was always just going with what was going. It was like, you know, I always say that cliche, I was a balloon in the wind. I was here. I was there. I was here. You know, and for a long period of a long 20-year run, that's where I was. You know, I was dragged from pillar to post. Whatever the circle I was in, I went to the extreme of that circle. You know, whether it was partying, it was drug taking, it was experimenting with new drugs, crime, fitting in with people. I was always trying to fit in, and I didn't know where I fitted in. You know, and up to the end, like, my life was very unmanageable, and everything around me was unmanageable, but I didn't see the unmanageability. It's like when you're in the storm, in the middle of it, a tornado, you can't see what's going around, like the houses, everything is just falling around you or being pulled out of its roots, you know. But I was just caught up. So I learned over time, I was on the wheel of suffering. So I was in samsara. And I know about that today and what that entails, and that manifests in different areas of people's lives. You know, we get caught up in the same thing, we repeat the same patterns until we get knowledge or awareness, we cannot step off that wheel. And that's where the holistic aspect has helped me with the yoga, meditation, all that kind of stuff. But for the 20 years that I was lost, I was a shell of a human being. I had no emotional connection to anything of anyone. I had a son, I had a relationship, I had a mother, a father, I had brothers, I had family. But I had no anchor. Again, I didn't feel I fitted in any dynamics. When I was in the house, I wanted to be out of the house. When there was a gathering of a family event, I felt ostracized. I felt I didn't fit in. I thought I wasn't even a family member. And it was just my mindset, you know, because I had a lot of trauma. And that's what
was the, sorry to interject, just on the eye of the storm, what was your lowest point?
My breaking point, I had a spiritual awakening that changed it all. You know, I nearly died. I was nearly murdered for my behaviour, for antisocial behaviour, for the way I was doing things and how I was treating things around me. I had no respect, you know. I was drug dealing to feed a habit, not to feed money, to feed a habit of an insane hole that I couldn't fill. At that time, I didn't see that I was doing any wrong. I thought it was all a blame game, you know, and the book stopped with me, you know. So I had a spiritual awakening. Not after that. Not long after that. I was in a pub with my father in Smithfield, and he was drinking, you know, and I needed money, so I had to go up and ask him for a loan. And he went downstairs into the pub that we were in and fell down the stairs and took a heart attack, hit a concrete wall. And an old man came to me and says, "That guy over here, I think he's on a falling." And I ran down and looked, and I could see a pair of feet sticking out of the wall, the corner of the wall. Ran down the stairs. It was my father was lying, he was on having a heart attack. I revived him, gave him out to me. I didn't see it on the TV, but he was pumping his chest mouth to mouth, brought him back, got an ambulance, brought him to the hospital, and left and went using more drugs. Didn't care that the man was on the bin at death's door. And that's the disease of addiction, what it had done. It takes away any morals or values. It doesn't give you any. It's like you're being dragged through a storm, and it's horrible, you know. And the kids today, they don't even know what they're entail, because what's going around today now is like, they're getting younger, they're getting more violent, and, you know, the morals and values, they've none, because they're not being channeled in the right area from a young age. They're not given opportunities. They're not told you can do this, you can be this, you can be all you want. I was never told that I could be whatever I wanted to be. I was in a class, because I had ADHD, I was in a lower class with 40 pupils, and none of us were going to amount to on. A couple of us are scientists, one or two are doctors, accountants. I'm a teacher. Like, so they never instilled that value in words. So why would we think that we could amount to on? That we just went with the pack, you know. And that's the way society, the schooling system is. It's still the same pecking order, you know, A, B, and C. But sometimes the C is it has the talent and the amazement that we haven't even seen yet, you know, because we've seen that over time with other people, you know.
Yeah, it's like even the IQ system is flawed because someone just made that up and they assumed that was what measures intelligence.
The box, someone else's box. Live in my box, work in my box, act in my box, and that liberation. So when I was in school, I was outside the class. I was afraid to put my hand up and answer the question in case I got it right. And then I was afraid to put my hand up in case I got it wrong and everyone would judge me. Yeah.
Why were you afraid to get it right?
Because I wasn't used to being told, you're good, you're right, well done. But yeah, I'm very articulate. I'm a great drawer. I'm great at mathematics. I'm amazing at art. And I've a lot of other coping skills. Like, I can strip something and build it back up. You give me something to look at and I'll draw it. I'll paint it.
Were you also afraid, and I'm not trying to lead you with this question, but were you also afraid of being right because of what your classmates would think of you? Because I know when I was growing up, if you to be smart was a bad thing by the lads, as it were. Was that an element of it at all?
Of course, because the class we were in, it was all the head cases. Not saying I'm a head case. All the hyper wordy guys and girls, you know. And all it was is we hadn't got a channel. We had nothing to channel that in. In today's society, there's exercise, there's music, there's yoga. In Dubai, they bring Jiu Jitsu, it's the curriculum. You have to do Jiu Jitsu, like I do Jiu Jitsu today, and it centers me mind and grounds me in ways that I've never experienced. I've experienced it through meditation, through some practices, some prana, breathing, different things. So it's all about breath, and when we're in fight or flight, we're not breathing. We're not connecting to the source. The source is us. The power is in us. What we can be is in us. You know, when someone says, be the best you can be, we can, you know, but we're not being taught that in society, you know. It's like Louis Vuitton, Canada Goose. You have to wear a certain brand to be a certain person today, and that's a lot of bollocks. Sorry for the language.
It's okay.
You know what I mean? It's not like I buy something 2 minutes after it's gone, that feeling is gone. What am I left with? Why did I buy it? What was the reason? What was I feeding? What was I running from? And over time, we've learned how I tick. I don't get it right all the time. But the rock bottom was, and this is my rock bottom. It wasn't being shot at, nearly dying with my son in my hands. IRA trying to kill me back then. They had a right because my antisocial behaviour was off the wall. I didn't have any consideration for anything or anyone around me. I was on a destructive path. I hadn't got the capability of killing myself. But yeah, I was putting myself in situations to be killed. Does that make sense? Insane actions.
What, Keith, that's a good point, because I don't know about the suicide statistics. I mean, you hear it's hard to know how this information is gathered, but it does seem like it's getting worse. And it sounds to what you've just said there about what happened with your father, and you got to a point where it was quite low, and someone else may have wanted to kill himself if they were you. Why? This sounds like a weird question, but what kept you going? As in, you felt that being in that situation that life was worth living?
So, up to that point, I never seen any wrong. That's the delusion.
Oh, right.
I'd blinkers on.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything I was doing. I didn't see the wrecks I was leaving behind, the people I was haunting. Do you know, the trauma I was on causing myself, because it's me as well that was suffering. The more I suffered, the more people suffered around me, you know, and my mechanisms was just hot and cold. I could knock off and disconnect from an emotional state because I didn't know what that was. Until I started doing practice and connecting with yoga and connecting with my spirit and interacting on an honest one-to-one basis with people and communicating the real me, taking away the mask, because we all have masks. It doesn't matter if you have an addiction or not. We all have masks. We have vessels we run to escape the feelings of whatever's going on. You know, someone says something to you, we close down, or we go for a drink, or we progress backwards, we introvert, whatever. Everyone has a mechanism, but not everyone is aware of what we do. It's a repetition of, you know, Gabor Mate talked about trauma.
Yeah.
You know, so from a young age, like when I was born, my mum had she had a nervous breakdown. Okay, so when I was born, she was only on a marrying my father. They were love of their life. They were in love. I was born. My mum had a breakdown. She was took to the psych ward. I was took away from her. My dad turned to drink. My mum came out of hospital. Wasn't the same woman. She was only getting shock treatment. She was only being treated probably horrible in them places in the Grange Common. So that trauma of a young child, I carried that. I didn't know that. So when I used to go and see my mum on a Sunday in the Grange Common, I'd see them strapped to beds. I'd see pea stains in the bed. I'd see mesh on the windows. One flew over the cuckoo nest. That's vividly 100% accurate. I'd see people screaming, and I was a child. So them scars would carry on in life, where there'd be disconnection. So I didn't have an internal mother figure. So I was like passed from pillar to post with family members that helped me and guided me and nudged me, and others took advantage of me. So I was suffering through all that. So when the addiction and the gangs came along, it was like it was a pack that I felt safe in, because I never felt safe in that before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, yeah. I mean, that's human nature, to want to be part of something bigger than ourselves.
So from a young age, and this is my own diagnosis and other people's that have told me, because I ask people what they see in me, because I can't learn with my own blinkers. I need honest feedback. I need people to be brutally honest sometimes. Okay, you're acting the bollocks. You know, and that's okay. Like, it's good to get criticism from people that love you, you know, if they're coming from an honest place. So what that in turn done for me, it turned my coping skills through life. I was a survivor, and you were talking about how did I survive not killing myself, because I'm a survivor. But in that survivor, I took away empathy, love, compassion from other people to allow them in, because I don't trust. So all through my life, I've had that wall up. So when I came to the end of my addiction, I'd nothing. I'd nothing to escape from it. I'd nothing to suppress. I was living in reality. So my father, he took that heart attack a couple of weeks after. Same thing again in the house. I was in the bedroom and heard a bang, and I walked out, and he was on hitting the floor again and having another heart attack. Brought him around again, twice. Got him to the hospital. A couple of weeks after, it was my mum and his 34th anniversary, and they were on having a fight. My mum was on throwing him out, and he was on the streets, and he was proud. Pride kills people. Yeah. You know, didn't want help from anyone. And the bills are where he drank around he had a paper stall at the Four Courts with his brother, and he was there one morning, and I went around talking to him, and I was asking him how he was, how concerned. And we got into conflict, because he was saying, you're here for your mum, blah, blah, blah. And it was all image in front of his friends. The next day, I seen him in James Street on the slab dead. He was only taking a heart attack on my brother's chair that night. So the last conversation we had with my father was an argument. So that was me rock bottom. After that, I had a spiritual awakening. I was on medication, and I was going to the pharmacy one morning. It was raining, and I ended up at the grave in Glasnevin. And at that time, you have to wait a couple of months before the ground is settled before you can get a headstone. So there was a wooden cross. And I believe his sacrifice is my liberation. So I believe by him passing away, I got a chance to live.
What do you mean?
Right, so I never got, all the time that I tried to get clean and tried to recover my life and tried to put it in the perspective of the next right thing, it never happened. But my rock bottom, and they say a spiritual intervention.
Oh, I get you.
So my father's death
Yes.
was my spiritual liberation.
It wasn't that he was holding you back from anything. It was just the fact that it made you realise I suppose just that
Spiritual awakening.
Spiritual awakening, exactly, yeah. Exactly.
And he's my higher power, and every year, like that, I'm coming up to 14 years in recovery, and I don't mind breaking me arm into it because there's people out there that don't even know about recovery. There's people out there that's not being told that there's a way out of being suppressing yourself in drugs and escaping from life and thinking you're not worth it and you have no value, and you know. And every family has family members that are suffering through addiction, but it's not highlighted and it's not flagged and it's a taboo they're put down. But people, it's like when you're in a social thing, I'm not justifying it. When you do something for a long period of time, it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And a long period of time, to break that habit is very hard. Whether that's smoking, whether it's gambling, whether it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's buying clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Gabor Mate talks about it again, and it's the trauma of our upbringing that we carry into our man or womanhood. And if we don't look at it, sans if we don't get off the wheel, we're going to keep on repeating it. And we're going to keep on robbing the growth because we won't grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sick of robbing myself and other things around me because of how I feel, or my perception of things, because my perception of things are totally warped. But in all of this, I ended up, when my father died, I ended up going into a treatment centre. And the funny thing about the story is, the first day I went in, so I'm on a high dosage of this, that, those and the other of drugs, doctor's prescription and street drugs, and I'm going into a detox centre. I don't know what I'm doing. It's a leap of faith. A friend of mine and my brother come to pick me up. I have 2 black bags of designer clothes, all brand names, all image. I had gold jewellery, bracelet, T-bar, and I did an Xbox. All going into a treatment centre, and my friend says to me, "Where the fuck are you going?" And I said, "I don't know." He says, "You'll be selling that in Ballyfermot by the end of the night. You'll be back using." Left it in the house, went out to the treatment centre, full of fear walking in, and I remember that fear. I remember because it was like a breakup. It was like a death. I knew on the way out in the taxi, I could feel it. I could feel my spirit saying, "You're done. This is it, you're done." I could feel it, but I didn't know what it was, what I was doing, but I was doing it. Went into the treatment centre. First day, everyone was there, and we were in their groups. There was 10 or 12, and they were all talking about how far they were, and they all sounded spiritually grounded and very well. They were clean, they were going to this place, that place. That night, someone got out the window, went to the off licence, got back in. They had a howdy. I didn't drink because I know what drink used to do to me.
They went out the window.
One of the guys crapped out the window, got down to the off licence.
He did what out the window?
Creeped.
Oh, creep, sorry.
Yeah, not crapped. They got away with it, everyone, that night, but the next day they tried it again, and the guy got caught by security on the grounds on the way back, and he had a list of who wanted what and who gave what money. So all of them were thrown out, and I was in the treatment centre on my own, you know, and the fear. And I ended up getting through that because I knew I was there. I knew if I get back out, I can't do another 20 years. I need to just sit here and sit with what's going on and the suffering. And then I was coming off high dose medication of antidepressants, sleeping tablets, fucking methadone, heroin, crack cocaine. Yeah, this was all coming out of my system when I'm coming through this. So I had psychosis for a long period of time. I had a post-traumatic stress syndrome, and I'm not labelling who I am. I know that was a process to clean the system. But in this, there was a guy that used to come to the treatment centre, and he used to teach yoga. I'm not going to say his name, but he helped me and he saved my life because he gave me a purpose. Because 3 times a week he come up and he taught yoga in the treatment centre. And when I'd be in Shavasana, I could visualise things, and I could feel the ground softening. I could feel the grass. I could smell, you know, I could see the sandy beach. And I wanted more of that. And I was intrigued, you know. And this guy, even though he was getting paid, right, he wasn't getting paid because he brought more than 110% into that room. He brought love, compassion, and I started seeing that the first time in my life and allowing that to be in my life. So I was having a transformation. So I got through that and I went over to another place in the Phoenix Park. I won't say the name because you'll have to edit it. And again, there was a teacher there that was doing the same thing. So these were planting seeds before I even seen the manifestation and the growth. And I remember one of the counsellors asked me what I'd like to be, and I love Bruce Lee and I love martial arts. And I'm not Chinese, but I said I'd love to be Bruce Lee and a personal trainer. And I never thought anything of it again. And I planted that seed and gone. Went into the Phoenix Park, got through that program, and then I came out and I started doing yoga off a DVD in a recovery house because I was living there for 12 months. So I got up in the morning at 7 o'clock, put on the DVD, go through the sun salutations, didn't know what I was doing, but I was present. I was in that moment. And yoga is not only about a physical aspect. Yoga is about community. Like me and you talking that day, that's yoga.
Oh, mate, I'm so glad you said that because I remember not just then, but actually I was sitting in the elbow room and I was sitting across from you and asking you, basically like my mentor, saying, what do you advise I should do next in terms of I wanted to become a yoga teacher? And you said to me, I never forget it, this is yoga. And I didn't understand at the time. To me, yoga was the asana, the posture. I didn't understand about communication and essentially communicating from a place of love as opposed to hate. Empathy, compassion. And if you're, because I think we're so transfixed with the visual and that we forget that. But so what you said there, it reminded me of that. And so when you had these two teachers, and you did the DVD, what was it about that combination of having been in the class, those two classes, and doing the postures that made you think this is something I would like to continue?
It wasn't the high, it was the disconnection from the raised mind.
Yeah, the samsara.
So I was
Circle
coming from
suffering.
the head to the gut, not to the heart, to the gut. So I was connecting with how I was rather than how I thought. Because my thinking is not my actions. I can think anything that's off the wall, but my action is the cause and effect of that thinking if I take action in it. So the asanas, the sun salutations, the breathing, the different postures, the hitting the walls, these,
Hitting metaphorical walls.
Physical aspects and walls of an emotional state when you're trying to get into the pose and you want to progress and you have to work on it and you have to align your body, you have to nurture, you have to breathe. Most importantly, you have to connect with the breath because the breath is the key. It unlocks, and that's what they say in it, that you have to unlock the different bands, or you connect. And over time, I've had loads of experiences of different things, but in this, I was still searching. So I was doing the DVD, I was doing the day program, and I wanted to find out about meditation because before I was on putting down the tools and changing my life and trying to put it in order the way I'm meant to be, walking in grace of God, because I'm meant to be walking with God's love, not mine, because my will is where it left me in a treatment centre with all the trauma from the past and using that and using after. So I had to take ownership and I had to grow up, take responsibility, and I remember doing this and I wanted to do meditation, and a friend of mine 20 years ago or 18 years ago brought me to a retreat up in Jambaling, up cabin, and I met this Rinpoche.
What's that?
He's a Buddhist monk. So he's
Rinpoche?
Yeah. So Yeshi, Rinpoche Yeshi. He was there giving practice, and I was there for the weekend, and I never thought anything of it. Just turned up, had a great weekend, really connected, done group work. But 18 years after, I'm in Kilmainham in a Buddhist centre, because I've been searching for things all the time. I'm trying to nurture my soul, whatever. You know, I've been just trying to find my anchor for that balloon. Yeah. And I remember ending up in Inchicore, and the guy that brought me the 18 or 15 years prior is sitting there giving practice, and the Rinpoche that was giving the practice is there as well. And I was like, wow, you know. And at that time, there was a friend of mine, Michael. We ended up, I met him in the Phoenix Park through treatment, and we became friends. And in this time, I was coming up to 2 years sober and clean, you know. And that we commemorate every year as a milestone. We get a medallion. I put my medallion on my father's grave. He gets recovery as well. Every year I stack them up. You know, he's the St. Anthony statue. And that's my homage of respect back to him. That's me making amends. Even though he's not here in the physical assay, he's here now with me. Because I seen a fella before I walked up. So I know, I see signs all the time. I've experienced a lot of signs over the time, you know. And so Michael says to me, do you want to go? There's a place in Thailand, a Buddhist place called Tampa Bok. Would you like to go and take refuge? And my mum at that time, she was having a stroke 2 weeks just before I decided to go, and I went up to the hospital to her and I told her, and she was being paralysed on both sides, and it was hard and painful to see her that way. And I said to her, I'm going to go to Thailand, I'm going to become a Buddhist monk, and you're going to get better by the merit. And I could see by her face, she rolled her eyes first as if to say, he's on another one. But she told me to go, you know, and the two of us cried, and we went, and I had a most amazing experience of human connection. I was took out of the environment of the shiny things, because I'm a magpie, I'm attracted to shiny things like everyone. We all have our flavour of what we like. And I went into the jungle, and the day I was going in, we were doing a video feed like this, the documentary about it, and they do a herb, 164 or 167 different herbs, and you drink it, and it's like a tobacco and you puke.
Like ayahuasca stuff.
Yeah, but it's not a mind altering. It's there's no hallucinogenic aspect of it. It's about cleansing, and then they put you into a sauna that's 4 times as hot as a normal sauna, a man-made, and they put leaves in and all the herbs. And I'm actually going back now in January to do it again. Yeah, but it's totally, it just cleanses the, like, my wallet's downstairs. I'd show you the picture of me as a monk, and how calm, and you know, how essent, how no stress.
Is that how the shaved head started?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, and eyebrows, and the funny thing, the last day,
shaved eyebrows as well.
Yeah, and any facial hair. Yeah.
And chest?
Yeah, full moon you're gone. And very funny.
Was it full moon? How do you mean?
When there's a full moon, you have to have a shave. That's the Buddhist way.
Is that
Yeah.
it?
And the funny thing about it is, the last day, I thought I was going to get away with it, so I'm leaving the monastery, and they shaved me as well. I think it was just they took the pee out of me. But when I was there, like, it was surreal. Like, we went in the day we were going in, we're in a tuk-tuk, and the mist is coming over the mountain. There's 2 giant elephants with tusks, and we're going through in a tuk-tuk, and it was like, my father's anniversary was that day, because I might have been on doing an interview before we went to the monastery saying, today I'm very emotional, it's my father's anniversary, and I'm having a leap of faith. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm going into something I don't even know, and I'm used to going into things I don't know now, because I'm starting to just have a leap of faith. Things are just manifesting, things are being put in my life, things are being taken away out of my life. For whatever reason, I'm getting learning rather than resenting, and rather than controlling and trying to hold on to things. You know, detachment.
Yeah.
So I goes into the monastery, and we're sitting there, and all the abbots are all around the table, and they don't know whether they're going to take us in, because they'd had bad times with Irish people. There's a famous guy that went there and effed it up for everyone.
Like a celebrity?
Yeah, I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
But, you know, he went in and brought a majority of them out drinking.
Oh no.
Yeah, because it's a detox as well for people with addictions, and as well as holistic. So you can go in there. I've seen scientists in there, I've seen doctors, I've seen people from all walks of life. I have a couple of different pictures. There was a woman that her son was going through detox, and she was from the States, and she went in and done the vomiting detox with him. And I had a picture of the two of them sitting back to each other. It was just a beautiful black and white moment of like the true essence of a mother mind and her son. And this kid was 20 odd, and she was there. She was going through the suffering with him, shoulder to shoulder. And them kind of things, just I start seeing things in a light that I never seen. I start seeing empathy and compassion. And in the mornings when we would be sitting down for the food, so from 7 to 8 you could eat what you want. After that you can't eat till the next day. It's a 24-hour fast. You get bottles of water, and you get your mantra. So and the abbot gives you a mantra, and for 7 days you have to say it, and then you chew it. So I have my own. I'm not going to say it, but
you chew the paper.
Yeah, because you're eating your truth, and then when stuff comes up, you say your mantra, and it's like it's a healing power to help you, to give you courage, to give you strength. And today I still use it in different things. I'd say, but it's mine.
Yeah, it's confidential.
Yeah. It's your little tool, you know. And I remember in the very first day we were there, and they were giving us ladles, big silver ladles with rice, with this, with that, and we were that hungry. We were just because we were thinking, right, 24 hours, get as much as we can in. But there was two people sitting every day in front of us, smiling, and we didn't know because a lot of them didn't speak English. These were the lay people, the villagers around the monastery, come and feed the monks, and then wait for the leftovers and bring it home to their family.
So they were the villagers, the two people sitting.
Every day, someone had people in front of them, all the way up to the abbey, and they'd sit and wait with bags and smile, and we didn't. It took a couple of days for us to realise what the more we ate, the less they got. Oh. So we learned not very quickly over time, that compassion and greed, we didn't need it, and we started seeing we were transforming, and the other abbots and the monks, they were seeing it. So they started bringing us into the community aspect, because they were a little bit cagey at the start, because there's 3 mad Irish young fellas coming over. I'm all around with a pair of Ray-Ban glasses in a monk suit with a pair of earphones, like, you know what I mean? It's not the norm, you know? It's a norm today because of the phone aspect in life and earphones and all. You'd see monks all the time walking around with laptops and all. But at that time, it was little Nokia phones, so it was kind of a little bit, you know. But over the time that we were there, it's amazing the experience. And my yoga every morning, I had a yoga mat, and I was doing yoga every morning before I went down for breakfast. What I learned on the CD, what I could remember from the 2 individuals that were on it helping me. Do you know? Yeah. And I was trying to put my own flow together. But what it was I was taking stock of how I felt. I was writing down stuff. I was how my feelings was, how I was emotionally. I was connecting with my source, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And that's what I mean when you step onto your mat. It's not what comes out on the mat, in the flow. What comes out in the heart. What comes out in here, what you come off the mat with. Whether you leave the stuff, you know, because most of the time, like today I done a Bikram. I didn't think of anything and anyone in the whole 90 minutes.
What did you think of then?
I thought of the breath and the flow and the alignment. And I haven't done Bikram in a couple of years, and I just moved back into it today. But I was so proud of myself, because using my race and mind, we'd be thinking, even in practice, I'd be going, I'd be thinking the phone, I'd be thinking to call him back, her back, or to get this, or to get the messages. But today it was just a beautiful flow, and then I'm up here doing this now.
That's the beauty of actually of Bikram. I mean, I have my qualms about Bikram, but that is the beauty of a set sequence where you don't have to think what's coming next, and then those little pauses when the mind can wander. Instead, you know what's coming next, so you can actually enjoy the flow. And I think, like Jiu Jitsu as well, when you're in a flow state, that's when you're moving, you're altering your consciousness.
You're moving with everything around you.
Exactly, yeah.
There's no start. Yin and yang flow.
Yeah.
And so back to the monastery.
Yeah.
So when we were leaving, there was a Ajahn Tong. He's an architect. He does everything in the place. He's amazing hand sculpturing. Like, he's built most of the temple. I think he's there 30 odd years. Could be a little bit longer now. But this man was just so kind and loving and thoughtful, and he was just so nice all the time. It was just surreal, you know. And he built a lake, like dug a lake, built a house on the side of it for the Down syndrome niece. Had a swing, and every day I'd go down and I'd push her on the swing, and she never talked because we didn't know how to communicate through verbal aspect, but there was a connection on an emotional and an energy aspect. And the last day, me and Michael were last meal, we're sitting there, and she come by, all the abbots, all the high priests come down to me and Michael and bowed in front of me. And I just broke down crying because I knew I was on a connecting without verbal. I was on a touching, she was on a touching, we were on a having that connection. So it was an amazing experience. So I come back out of there and I come back to Ireland, and my mum is still in the hospital. She a little bit better to see me. But the chatter of life was so fast, I needed to slow down because my mind was just noises, everything was just vibrant because I had been living in a jungle. Eating whatever was given to me, you know, like I was on being like in a womb, the womb, you know, and then I was took out of the womb and I was like trying to be dropped on earth. So I tried to get back into my recovery aspect. I started tying back in, but still there was something missing in me, and I went to the sanctuary, what I was saying earlier, and that didn't work out. And I left and went down to the elbow rooms, and I walked into the elbow rooms, and I'm an energy person. I don't be around drama. Anyone negative, I'll just move away because I know what that does to me psyche, and I know what it does to me spirit. You know, I've been in the dark for long enough. I've been disconnected from this connection. So today I try not to let people take that. It's sometimes it doesn't be always that way. So I went into the elbow rooms, and I was paying for classes, and there was a guy called Keith as well. He was a Krav Maga guy, and he was going back to Brazil, and he says, why don't you ask Lisa? And I used to see Lisa as a school teacher. So school teachers in my day put me outside the class, so she was going to put me outside the class. So I remember, you know what I mean, she has that real, you know, administration.
I'm saying nothing.
No, your face says it all. Can you see it on the camera? But I remember going up to her a couple of times to ask her because I was paying for classes, and I just hadn't got the courage. You know, and then one day I went up and she said it to me, and I says no, and she says, well, you're paying for classes, you're here every day. I said, I want to be a teacher at the top of the class. And she says, well, I'll help you. So she done that. So I was making soup, I was washing floors, I was caretaking, I was humble. So I know what humility is. For me, humility was admitting that I had a problem with drug addiction and I needed to change. Humility was I needed to take responsibility for the cause and effect that I had suffered everyone else around me, and I couldn't do that today. Humility showed me to turn up when my head said, don't, you're not worth it. You know, humility when I'm full of fear, and admitting that I'm full of fear. When I used to go to every class that I teach, I'd be saying the serenity prayer, full of fear, before I taught. I'd be in the toilet saying the prayer. And I still say that prayer today for other things and everything, because it's like an anchor. It's like, I've got your back. Yeah. It's a reaffirming, you know. So I'm blessed, you know. So I went in there and I became an apprentice. She passed me on to the lady, Susan Church, amazing woman. And I remember I used to go up to Rathmines to her studio, and I'd be there and I'd be studying and I'd be apprentice and I'd be helping setting the class up and all. And I remember one day she was teaching a class on a verbal aspect, and there was about 20 people or 18 people in the class, and there was a lady that was blind. And that lady that was blind was doing the same thing as everyone that wasn't blind. And I was just blown away by that. I couldn't believe you could do that. You could give someone something even though they couldn't see what you were giving them. But they could take every Q&A or every cue and do exactly as everyone else. And it was amazing to see, because it was at the back of the class, and I was like, wow, could that ever happen to me? It did. You know, I done a lot. It doesn't matter. I do a lot of voluntary stuff. Money is not a key for me today. You know, peace of mind and doing other things for people and helping people. That's me. That's me value. You know, I heard a saying before. It's not what you leave. It's not what you leave on people. It's the mark you leave on people. You know, and I think I leave good marks on people today. You know, I've a good moral belief and values today, you know, as best I can, but I can still fall short. I'm human. But I remember I was in a class and a woman, she come over to me at the end of the class and she was deaf and dumb. And I was doing the class and I just done it, and she come over and she started talking with as best she could, and she told me it was an amazing class and she got everything, but she was explaining through handshake. And the proudness, because Susan showed me that tool. She passed that on to me.
Yeah.
And she's passed so many good tools on to other teachers over the years. And she gave me the ability to be confident and be accountable in my class. That it's not about how good I look on the mat. It's how the people that come in that are injured look good on the mat. How you look after them, and you bring everyone back to that. And they walk around that person. And I've always been that way, you know.
That is, like we were chatting downstairs about keeping a feeling of being human, being warm. And I think now the yoga world is becoming, the yoga industry. I think it's important to establish between yoga and the yoga industry. I think in yoga industry, we're starting to move towards it being like a fitness class, which I'm guilty of too. You know, sometimes like I teach it like it's just a movement class. I do that, and but really it's taking the time for people, and I think that like if you but introducing humor, I think, is so important. And as you were saying earlier downstairs, that like having the, as we said, the gift of the gab, but like having the chat and be able to communicate with people, I think is what sets you apart. You know, you can have all the skills in terms of know how to teach a good class, but how you engage with people. So say like you were talking about when you were growing up, and I know this about you before, but working the markets, in the Christmas markets, for example, and dealing with people. This is something that we're lacking so much because we spend so much time alone. Yeah. Technology is so good because it gives us convenience, but when you're walking down the street, isolation. It gives you isolation, and actually you lose. Well, I'm talking. When I say you, I'm talking about me. I remember working for an AI company, which was a great company, but I spent all day not speaking to anyone, and then I actually lost my skill of talking. And
confidence
and confidence, and also cues. Like if I say something to someone, how does it land? When I say it, what's their facial reaction? Can I pick up on it? I actually lost that, Keith, and I find that now back as yoga gets more and more popular, more and more people are coming to class. It's great to see 30, 40 people in a class, but something is lost when you have that many people. At the same time, though, without contradicting myself. Because there's pros and cons to everything. When you go to a class that has 30 people in it as a student, I quite like that energy. So, but yeah, my point is that, as you said, the yoga is looking after the people who, say, have a challenge like being deaf or being blind. For you now, what's your yoga practice now? I don't mean as in your own personal one, but in terms of like teaching, and practice, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, most of the time it'd be vinyasa.
Yeah.
I like strong, but I can bring it back to soft. But lately, for the past couple of months, I've been doing Ashtanga home practice all the time. For my own practice, like I think yoga it's labelled. You're either this or you're that. You're hard or you're soft. Some days I'll do soft. My body will tell me what I'm doing. The class format, when I go in, I have a plan, like most teachers, and I talk to many teachers. We have a plan of a structure we're going to go in. But then something comes into the class that changes that at that moment, and we go with, well, okay, they have an injury, we need to change the dynamics of the class. I can't do that now. It has to be low impact. It has to be a lot more holding, a lot more breathing, a lot more connection, finding length rather than strength. And it's over time I've changed the toolbox. Like I've loads of different practices that I can turn to, but it's always back to when I think I'm gonna do something, I do the opposite. And that's what happens. Do you know
the best laid plans?
Yeah,
never go to plan.
And I've had thousands of times people come up and go, "Wow!" Other teachers in my class, "Wow, that was unbelievable." And I had no intention of being unbelievable. It was because we were all in sync. You know, when I do my flow, I correct people. we give them information of lengthening rather than compressing, because it's about uplifting, not depressing. Because a lot, even in Trigonasana, everyone wants to touch the toe. I like touching the ceiling.
Nice.
Because I'm not falling into a forward banana.
Yeah.
I'm elevating, I'm lengthening, I'm trying to find that elongate. I'm connecting with everything that's. I'm trying to
Lift people up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think when people say about a plan and I'm going to teach this class, that is, and I've done it myself, that is very much ego. Like, this is the plan I'm going to do. No matter who comes into the class or what the situation is, this is the plan I'm going to stick to it. But in fact, this a massive skill I have found is to be able to be adapt, yeah, and think on the spot, and to be, and you do that by being aware of what's happening around you. But that is, and I think that is a skill that, as you were saying, is something that you get by practicing yoga as a lifestyle, as opposed to these are just a bunch of postures. What draws you to Ashtanga?
The sequence, how the walls that you meet every day that you're doing it. The walls that come up every day. Because some days the practice, you're going to that part, like I'm on to the second sequence now and I'm down at a certain point. And I know when I'm coming to that, I'm fatiguing with all the vinyasas jumping back.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm consistently trying, and then I'm using props. And I think the props is important to find the body alignment, to let the body feel safe to go into the postures, because we compensate as human beings. We sit a certain way, our posture, energy, whether we're rounded, we're not confident, we're not elevated. Do you know, we sit how we feel. We train how we feel. It's like, I'm not CrossFit. You know, at the start of CrossFit, when you're doing a sequence of an EMOM, and when you're training, because I've done it, but when you're doing it perfectly, the first round, the second round, then you're losing the fatigue, then you're losing the alignment, then your thinking is gone, the breathing is gone, and then injury comes into it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, on a yoga mat, injury should never come into it. Because if you're in right alignment and you're connected with your breath and you're aware of where you are in your planes, you're in your natural flow. And if you're connected with your breath, doesn't matter how flexible. Like, I used to think that I had to have my head to my toes. It's not about that. It's about the act of getting down and trying to connect in that moment of that panic. What can I do to make this easier? Because then when life hits me with something, what can I do? Like, only 2 years ago, my mum died in my arms, Christmas night. Stevens' night, she died in my arms. I got to the hospital, and they were all screaming, and there was all drama and panic and all. And I was driving to the hospital with my partner at the time, and she was trying to do Grand Theft Auto and brake lights, and I said, stop, just stop. And she says, no, I want to get you there, I says, I don't have to prove anything. I went to plays with my mum, I went to gigs with my mum, I went out on dates with my mum. I brought her flowers on Valentine's Day. She didn't even know they were from me in a card. Every year I used to go up and ask her, who's that from? That's community, that's service, that's yoga to me. I might have not been on a mat with her. When she was dying, I was holding her hand, I was meditating through me to her. I was giving her me love, I was giving her me empathy, I was giving her me breath, I was giving her me essence, because she gave it to me. So when I got to the hospital, my whole family were full of anxiety, stress. Hey, you're on the missing. And I walked in and the lights started dimming. It was surreal. God was in the room, and I believe in that kind of stuff. You know, I've had so much miracles in my life today. I'm a miracle that I'm here. I'm a miracle other people around me are here. I see miracles every day. I see a lot of derogation, I see a lot of sadness, a lot of homelessness, a lot of abandonment. I can identify with that. I have empathy with that. I come from that. But I'm one of the blessed ones today. So if we can give a message today, we can heal. We can get up out where we are. Once you put one foot in front of the other, you know, if you land on your back, you can get up.
But you know, the what's important to realise within us and within each other is that human beings are complex.
Very
and
much so.
I think that sometimes we pigeonhole people into where they're from, what they look like, all this stuff. I remember I've spoken about this on the podcast before. I knew someone who I don't know anymore, and I remember once they're kind of like, okay, now I won't judge them. Basically, because I'm talking about non-judgment. they referred to someone as a junkie. And they said, and the way they said it, like, oh, those junkies, or this, and I thought, and this is someone involved in, this is a yoga teacher, and I thought, how can you do that? How can you like just? But it was the way it was said. It was so like, this person is that. That's what you're putting them down to. They're a junkie.
But that's their perception of what they believe.
And which is because then you're saying that instead of saying this is a human being who was a baby once, you were a baby once, their parents really loved them and they held them and they told them they were great. Or your parents, sorry, loved you, told you were great, but their parents probably didn't. And that is, but yet you're going to call them a junkie. And when I met, like, I think that is the key thing, because even with ourselves, I know for me, I think I'm this type of person. I've always been this type of person, and we fix that in our head because so many people have told us that, and then it
reaffirmed what we are.
We reaffirm what we are instead of no, we can change, and our thoughts can change, and we can disagree with ourselves a year later or whenever it was, because that's how we learn. And that's how we grow. And I think that if we don't do that, we start to create divides between us.
But there is a divide, rich, poor, upper class, lower class.
Yes.
Strong, weak. Districts are where you live. You're judged. Like from where I'm from, Dublin 7, most of the job interviews when you put these 7, now it's different because there's different environments and different stuff on it being injected in collateral properties, all that kind of stuff. So it's building up, so it's changed. But if you say you're from Sheriff Street or Summer Hill and you put that on the CV, you're not going to get the job. Straight away, you're going to be judged from the outside in. You're going to be judged in the environment and what's on it according in that environment. So you are where you are.
But you've transcended that.
But that's only 1%. Like, there's loads of people that has done this, and loads of famous people have done it, that have come into recovery and changed the perception of what an addict is. Look at Russell Brand, Anthony Hopkins. There's loads of them. Christy Moore. They all, like, I'm not breaking their on a minute. They all already broke their own. There's loads of people. Like, I'm no better and no worse than anyone with a silver spoon, with a wooden spoon, with a fork. Do you know? I'm no better and no worse. You know. Life thrown stuff at me that caused me to act in a certain way to try and stay safe in that environment. And that's it. I don't apologise for who I am. I know what I'm about today. I know I'm a good person. I know I have a good heart, and I know I'm an asset. I'm not a liability, you know, because a lot of people, you know, you were talking about someone saying about an addict, but many people have alcoholic families, members, but they're not alcoholic. They're dysfunctional, but they're functional. Yeah. We justify to suit our own. And it's all about the Joneses, what it looks like on paper. You know?
Speaking of what it looks like on paper, I mean, the reason why when I met you I was so intrigued was because I do it myself. My instinct, I think it's a survival instinct. You meet someone, you're like, right, I need to categorize this person quickly because I need to understand how I can what I'm dealing with, exactly. The same way if someone came to your door and they were wearing a suit and had a briefcase, you'd probably answer differently than if they were like wearing a hood over their head and carrying a bat. So so we have to make a snap judgment in order to survive. But sorry to
Come on, okay.
Well, when I met you, I thought, okay, this is a guy, real strong inner city Dublin accent. He does Jiu Jitsu. He's a tough guy, like rolls very hard, but yet he does Pilates. I thought, what? This doesn't make sense to me. I can't my brain can compute. And that's why it was a puzzler for me. And I think a lot of people find that quite fascinating when someone has multiple disciplines. But we only really find this out about people when we speak to them. Because when I first met you, I thought, this is a kind of a tough guy who's probably
soft,
who's probably like a West Ham fan and you know,
Liverpool
headbutts people and stuff, but that type of thing. But this is and I'm ashamed to say that, you know, but because I would have cut myself off from ever actually speaking to you. And I think that as I get older, I try to keep that curiosity. I remember saying to you, and it sounds a bit homoerotic, but I was like, man, you're in great shape. 'Cause in the changing room, I was like, man, you're in great shape. What age are you? And you were like, I'm 44 or something like this. And I thought, that's an inspiration because I want to keep in good shape. But to have that constant curiosity, which I think we should all do as adults, I think we really lose that.
Have to be open.
Have to be open to ask questions that may seem socially awkward or may seem a bit too direct, because that's how we break down the barriers to start to understand each other.
There's a saying, I break bread with anyone.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. I remember the day I sat in the elbow rooms with you and you were telling me about how unmanageable your emotional life was with the work that you were doing. I was seeing the sadness in your eyes and I was impelled to tell you, change it. That's what I said to you. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Change it. If you don't like something, change it. We're not told that we can change into whatever we want to be. So here's a scenario. From 20 to 40, we work in a job we don't like. We settle in the job we don't like. From 40 to 60, we work in that job full of resentment to save for a pension that 1% only make. And in all that time, we're chasing something that we never probably won't get to. Where's the now? What are we living in now? What have you got now? What's the substance? What's the essence of what you are now? How are you feeling? How are you interacting? How are you enjoying now? And I think when you step into the yoga room, you have to live in the now. Because for that hour or whatever time you're there, you're with you, the uncountable you, the true you, because all the walls of all the distractions are took away. That's why I love getting on my mat. I set my mat in the night out for the next morning.
You say what again?
I set my mat out the night before.
Very good.
I set the alarm half an hour earlier. I do a bit of Wim Hof breathing to get the flow going. And then I just let my flow and whatever comes out. Some days it's amazing. Some days I'm like second guessing myself and undervaluing what I just done. But it's about stepping from reality, which is normality, onto a mat, which is real in the reality, because you're not running. You know, and the thing with my mum, when I was saying to her, when we were walking down and I went in, my brothers and all, they were all, you're on a miss now, she's on a passing away. When I went over, I just felt the light pulse and I lifted her up and I said to her, it's okay, go to that. And she just went like that and died in my arms. That was the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced, other than my son being born. That was truly connection, you know. And I would never have got that if I had not changed my life, took responsibility for my life and connected with my life. You know, so yoga has given me a tool to be liberated in life. Like, I do some mad stuff. People just...
What do you mean?
Like, I make these decisions or these goals and I set them and I go and do them. You know, like Kempo. I started Kempo at the start of this journey when I was doing yoga, and I got up to high European and American titles and all, and then I got bored and I started Jiu Jitsu, and I love Jiu Jitsu because it breaks my ego every day. I'm full of fear going in, even though I'm a brown belt now. When I go into the club, I'm fighting my demons. It's like getting on the mat. It's them demons that stop me from growing. It's that chanting monkey in the mind saying, not today, go back to the house, chill out, don't need to do this. And they're the things that I have to constantly push past, is me thinking, because me thinking stops me from growing.
What is it about, what does jiu-jitsu give you that yoga doesn't? As in, that's my question.
Okay, so in...
Because to give you some context, I've recently stopped doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and...
Because I don't prioritise it at the moment.
But you're prioritising life and life's turns at the moment where you're at.
Looking after so I've got a dog now, looking after the dog, commitments, doing teacher training, trying to develop my yoga practice, and actually the puppy thing, it sounds very trivial, but what I've realised is, so my morning routine now, just in terms of why I've stopped jiu-jitsu, is that 3 hours, about 2 or 3 hours in the morning from 5 to about 7 or 8, I'll just look after the puppy, clean up his mess, feed him, do a little bit of exercise with him, that type of thing. And what I've realised is that I can be nurturing. I haven't had a desire since I got the puppy for any real physical stress. Like, my aggression has just plummeted, and I don't think aggression is a bad thing. I mean, Carl Jung talks about this in Integrating Your Shadow. that I think aggression is useful. It depends how it's channeled, but ultimately I think my testosterone has gone down because I'm in a nurturing mode. I pick the puppy up in the morning. His name's Alfie, and I'm nursing him essentially. And it sounds weird. I know it's an animal, but I feel like, because I don't have any kids yet, I feel like this is my, like I know how to look after him. It's primal almost. I know how to rock him and all that kind of stuff. But sorry, Keith, to say, then I've lost my edge to kind of, I don't want to strangle someone, even though I know that's not what jiu-jitsu is about, but I've really kind of lost that fire. So yes, anyway.
But I've got that over the years. It's a normal concordance that we change and swap. You're prioritising what's right and what's most important now in this moment. I've been doing it the past couple of months. I've been doing a lot of yoga practice the past year, a lot, because I've been mending the spirit.
Yeah.
I've been going through breakup and healing and nurturing and trying to mind my spirit, trying to recover, and jiu-jitsu for me, the two differences is the yoga is connecting with my body and my breath. The jiu-jitsu is connecting with the spiritual aspect of taking away the fear and the ego, because the two of them come up together. I'm not rolling with him full of fear, he's going to pick me. But then when I roll, the relief I get after that, because it takes away the anxiety. When I'm not rolling jiu-jitsu, I'm off kilter. When I walk into the club, they know I'm back. The energy, you can see it. It's like a light switch. Boom. People that haven't been training, when they come back in, you can see the spark in their eyes. You can see that humour. You can see the community. It's like yoga, but it's different because of the breathing aspect. Like I bring the pranayama breath into yoga.
Oh, mate,
the
game changer, isn't it? You can stay so calm, can't you? When
the guys are like, what? Where are you getting the power, the breath, the strength? And like my game, I'm still a pit bull, but I'm a chihuahua underneath it. And I'm trying to just be in the moment. Like I'm going to a lot of fundamentals because I want to teach this the way it's being taught. I want to nurture it and grow in it and give it the essence and the respect that it deserves. Because it's the same with the yoga. I give that the way it's being given to me. I don't give it in my format. I give it in the tools that I was passed on, because it's a lineage. And lineages are lineages. Like, even if I was to go back and do Kempo karate, when I used to train Kempo, higher belts would come to me and they'd ask me the techniques in the old way and the new way, because that's how I learn. I'd show them the old technique and I'd show them the new technique, because I take information in. I'm a visual person, that's how I learn. The school never told me that. They sent me outside the class with my school bag, that's the truth. And I'd be counting cracks on the wall. So I'm good with maths, I'm good with puzzles, but what I've learned is I'm very good with life. I'm a survivor. And that's not a cliche and that's not a victim statement. I've survived an awful lot in my life, and I commend myself for it, because people were putting me part to help me to heal and to grow and to learn from, even the bad people. Because if I don't take the learning out of the bad, how can I just take it out of the good? Then it's my ego, Like, I've hurt people along the way, but I've been able to go back and make amends. And I don't intend to go out to screw people over or take that peace of mind, because it comes back to me when I'm on my mat, when I'm meditating, when I'm taking inventory at the end of the night. How was I today? How did I treat people? And how did I treat myself? 20 years of active addiction, I never even thought of me. I lived on the streets, I lived in cars, I lived in hostels, I lived on people's chairs, I lived on stairwells, I lived in prison cells. What a transformation from walking into the yoga studio and for taking ownership of my bullshit, of the blame game. Because that's what we do. We blame everything around us, the environment, the family. Poor me, I didn't get that job. What is the point going for a new one? I'm not worth it anyway. Why do I need to date anyone? I'm not good looking. I'm not worthy enough. I haven't got this. I haven't got that. I haven't got this house. I haven't got that car. I don't wear that jewellery. I haven't got that clothes. My bank is not this. We all go to the boneyard together. Penniless, empty, just rotten. We're all the same. And my value is what I put on people today is how I help people. And this is not for my ego. I'm not saying that here. If we can help someone today, I've been paid fucking tenfold. because it'll help me stay sober and clean today and be a better human being for tomorrow, because I have to do it all over again. You know? It's that thing of what I'm leaving on people. You know?
Keith, mate, I could chat to you all day, but we've gone an hour and 10, and I know you've got to be out of it.
Yeah, if they meet someone on half tree.
You're a bit of a free spirit, and I know you're going off on some travels soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
But if people want to, like, find you, how do they do it?
silverfox1live.ie.
Is that the actual website?
Yeah, no, that's my email address, and I'll get back to you.
Silverfox1
silverfox1@live.ie.
live.ie. Okay.
Well, I have silver hair now. I am a fox.
What we're gonna do, man, is I'm gonna publish this. Is I'm going, because there's not much about you online. So I'd love to do this again, and maybe next year sometime if you're back in Ireland, and hopefully we'll have some questions from people after seeing this.
Just can I say one thing?
Yeah, man.
If anyone has any family members or friends or co-workers that are suffering in any area and they need a little bit of advice, get them to give me an email, and we can direct them or help them or point them in that direction to give them a little bit of clarity or hope. I'm here.
Cool, man. Keith,
Cool.
Thanks so much, mate.
Thanks, brother. It's good to see you as always.
That's great.